perspective presented by the New Orleans Secular Humanist Association, following our few principles of humanism.
We're committed to the use of science and reason for understanding the universe and for solving human problems. We're skeptical of untested claims of knowledge, but we're open to new ideas.
We are concerned with securing justice and fairness in society and in ending intolerance and discrimination. We are committed to the total separation of religion and government.
We affirm humanism as a realistic alternative to the theologies of despair and the ideologies of violence. We reject the concept of an afterlife and believe in living a full and rewarding life here and now.
We value and respect each individual's right to judge and lead their lives according to their own position, as long as it's respectful of other people, living in a free society.
We hope you enjoy today's program and others in the weeks to follow. Hello again. I'm Harry Greenberger, the host of this show on behalf of the New Orleans Secular Humanist Association. Our guest today is Dr. Hans Gruenig, who is a professor at Tulane University in the Department of Philosophy. And Dr. Gruenig has appeared on our show before. Today we're going to talk about a different topic, which is meditation. And since I knew almost nothing about meditation, I thought I should do a little bit of research through the internet, knowing that that meditation is supposed to, in some ways, enhance your life and give you maybe a better quality of life. And we secular humanists aim for that, because we say this life is the only one we will ever have. So I did go into the internet and found out that not only did I know little about meditation, I found out that I was totally ignorant. And so, Dr. Gruenig, before we talk about meditation, tell us how you got interested in that field.
All right. Well, thanks once again for having me here. My own interest in meditation came about, I guess, organically. As an undergraduate at the University of Vermont, I studied philosophy and religion, and became interested in some of the perspectives that arose out of the meditative wisdom traditions, such as Buddhism and existential philosophy had similar components. For instance, Heidegger's philosophy has a dimension which is grounded in meditation, you could say. And when I went out to do my master's degree at the California Institute of Integral Studies, I took a course on Buddhism, and part of that course was going to a little weekend meditation retreat. And at that time, I didn't have a lot of experience with that form of meditation, and I had sort of the very typical beginning meditator's experience of having my mind wander and getting uncomfortable and looking around and trying to figure out why everyone else seemed so peaceful when I was struggling with the meditation.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't quite get it at that point. But I got the sense that there was something there. So I continued to meditate on my own, and within a short period of time, I had some, I would say, life-changing experiences through the meditation, and that got my attention.
I would think that it would.
And so I continued, and over the years I've done many meditation retreats in different traditions and teacher trainings, and I now teach meditation alongside Buddhism.
All right, so that's how you got there, but you just mentioned something like many, I guess, forms of meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went into the internet, and I'm just going to quote a few things, one says, different cultures have different meditation techniques. And they list a few here: mantra meditation, steady gaze, trataka, shaka meditation, Vipassana meditation, Raj Yoga meditation, Z-A-Z-E-N, Zazen, and Nada Yoga. That's what they listed as different cultures and different meditations. At the same time, at another site, they said there are 108 different meditation techniques. Now, you tell us about any one or more than one that would, that you are well acquainted with.
Okay. Well, once again, we've as your research has indicated, we've opened sort of a big topic up. It has many facets, and is very profound, I would say. There are many spiritual traditions that are grounded in meditative insight and experience, many philosophies, and I wanted to start by saying a couple of things about why might we meditate to begin with.
Okay.
And then go into some different kinds of meditation.
All right.
So there are a number of different forms of meditation which, and I'm going to try to figure out a way to frame this for you. So on the one hand, there are many forms of meditation that look very different on the surface, but they're actually doing basically the same thing. So just like if you went to the gym and you wanted to work out your biceps.
Yes, you use different equipment.
You could use different equipment. You could go to the Nautilus machine. You could go to the barbells, to the dumbbells.
And so that is different ways of developing your body. And there are different ways of developing what? Your mind? Is that what we're talking about? So
I guess what I'm trying to get at here is that that even though those different exercises appear to be different, physical exercises, they're all actually working the biceps primarily, those ones that I was pointing to. Similarly, there could be a bunch of different meditations that are all working on the same mental capacity, strengthening the same mental capacity.
All right.
And then there are some meditations which are actually working on different mental capacities. So just as in the gym, if you use the leg press, it's not the same as doing an arm workout. So some of the capacities that one might work on through meditation include mindfulness, or the ability to be present with experience as it's happening rather than being lost in some reaction. So I'll call that mindfulness.
Lost? What do you mean by being lost?
Lost. So it's one of those things I can attempt to describe, but it's most clear when one meditates, the difference between being present with experience and being lost in thought. So many forms of meditation have in common mindfulness. This, regardless of what else is happening, you're attempting to be present with the process, being aware of exactly what's happening. And there's a tendency of the mind, the human mind, to drift off into something related else. Thoughts, reactions, and to lose a kind of self-transparency. So anyone who's tried meditating before on something simple like watching the breath, maybe counting breaths to 10, and then starting over at 1, that's a simple form of meditation, tranquility meditation. A lot of people get to breath number 6, and all of a sudden they're thinking about, oh, I forgot to do this task, and 5 minutes later they...
It's hard to keep things from popping into your mind.
Well, it's difficult also to not follow them and to stay present. So it might be abstract now, but if you actually try meditation at some point, you'll see that difference between being present and mindful versus being lost in a thought.
Let me ask you this, because I've seen indications where at least some forms of meditation are related to religion. and other things that secular humanists disavow. And I'm looking at this list of 108, and one of them is astral travel, preparing to reincarnate, visualization of a deity, the Dalai Lama meditation. Now, these are related to religion, are they? Now, are there other forms of meditation that are not related to religion?
Absolutely. So, the forms of meditation that I practice and teach are exercises, they're mental exercises that people from any background, or religious or non-religious, atheist, agnostic, could practice and benefit from. So I've done a lot of study in the Buddhist tradition. Some forms of Buddhism have, as we talked about it on another show,
yes,
have a religious dimension, but the Buddha, in the early Buddhist teachings, the Buddha basically said, look, I really only teach one thing. That's how stress arises and how it ceases. And so you can strip away a lot of these other parts and focus on those practices.
Buddhist is going to teach how to avoid stress. Is that what you're telling?
Not just that, but that's one of
that was a basic,
yes.
which he did by meditation or taught meditation for that purpose.
That was part of his eightfold prescription.
Okay.
So, as well as ethical behavior and cultivating a sort of philosophical understanding. So alongside those
Let me
practices.
ask you this. As I told you, I was ignorant on the subject of meditation, but the only form that I even heard about was called transcendental meditation. What is that?
Transcendental meditation is it was popularized, I think, in maybe the 60s and the 70s by a Hindu guru from India, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And that form of meditation involves repeating a mantra in your inner voice over and over and over again, and then eventually letting that go and just resting in awareness once the mind has calmed down.
A mantra, meaning a word that, where do you get your mantra from?
Well, in that particular tradition, one of the teachers would assign a mantra to you.
I see. And then when you get that word assigned, you repeat it in your mind. You don't speak it. You repeat that over and over and over until what happens?
Well, it's in some ways it's similar to a number of forms of meditation where you're given an object to focus on. So just as you could be counting breaths in the example that I gave you a moment ago, and you're using your inner voice once again, breathing in, you might say 1 in your inner voice, and then you breathe out, and then you breathe in, and you might say 2 in your inner voice, and breathe out. So instead of paying attention to the breath sensations and counting with your inner voice, you might be repeating whatever that mantra is.
All right, and that takes your mind into another dimension. Is that, does that describe it?
Well, this is one of the most basic forms of meditation. It's a very important form of meditation. I would say it's foundational. And ordinarily, if you watch your own mind, it vacillates between two sorts of thoughts. Worrying about things that you don't want to happen and trying to figure out how to prevent them from happening.
That's the stress you don't want, you're trying to get rid of.
And on the other hand, thinking about things that you want, and you're trying to figure out how to get them. Right? So you're worried about either avoiding things that you don't want or getting things that you do want. There's often mind is vacillating between these two things, and they both can be stressful. Right.
All right. And so when you get your mind by one method or another into meditation, what do you do to get rid of those stressful things?
So one technique which allows your nervous system to rest and also builds these capacities, mental capacities like mindfulness, the ability to stay present, which, by the way, once that capacity is built in meditation, you can bring it into your daily life. So just like if you go to the gym and you work on your muscles, strength, flexibility, quickness, and so forth in the gym, it's not something that you just have in the gym. When you go out in your daily life, you have that strength and flexibility to apply in your daily life. So the idea with many forms of meditation is to develop these capacities in the meditation practice, and then you have them for your daily life. So in this case, with these forms of meditation, your mind is typically gravitating towards these sorts of thoughts, and you're giving your mind something else to do that doesn't have these stressful dimensions. It's just something simple like the breath or a mantra, and you're training your mind to stay where you want it to. Now, it won't do that. It won't cooperate for most people. It will wander off to these things. Stress will arise with them. You'll get lost in them. And then at some point, you'll wake up in the middle of it. Mindfulness will arise. And you say, oh, I'm in this thought. I'm going to let go of that, and I'm going to come back to my meditation object. Maybe the breath, maybe the mantra. And this is really what happens for most people in meditation. You create your intention. You have your object of meditation in this kind of meditation. And you stay with the object as long as you can. The mind wanders. You don't realize that the mind has wandered until you do. Until
you catch it.
And when you catch it, you just let that be. You let it go. You don't beat yourself up. That's a trap in meditation. You can become frustrated and say, oh, I can't do this, or meditation doesn't work, or something like that. You just have to recognize that as another knee-jerk reaction thought that you don't need to buy into. Mm-hmm. Let that go. Come back to your meditation object. And you cycle. This is called resetting in some traditions. You reset and come back.
Now, is meditation like, well, in hypnosis, some people are good hypnotic subjects, and some people it just doesn't work on them. Is meditation like that, or can anybody learn meditation?
That's a good question. I think that some people are probably more suited to it, to immediately get it. I didn't.
Okay.
But eventually I did. And then I found that I could strengthen it over time.
Now, you, as you have indicated, you teach other people how to meditate. Is that right?
That's right.
Does that make you a guru?
Well, I hesitate to use that word.
Well, I see the word when I did some research, and they indicated that a teacher of meditation was a guru, and I just didn't know whether that was commonly accepted or not.
In some Indian traditions, the word guru simply means teacher. So, but in America today, guru has a set of connotations that I don't think would apply to me. So.
All right. Now, but do you teach a class in meditation?
I've taught many classes on meditation and workshops.
That's an entire the length of a college term. It's a full course in meditation.
I've done many different courses. I've included it as a component in the Buddhism classes that I've taught. I've also taught classes at yoga centers, like a 10-week course, meeting once a week, and ongoing classes over the last, I guess I've been teaching meditation since 1999, so it's been a while.
In New Orleans, are you, other than what you do at Tulane, are you teaching, you mentioned other possible venues. Are you doing that?
I do from time to time, yeah.
All right. And what sort of people come there to learn?
What sort of people? all kinds of people from different ages, different backgrounds, different religious and non-religious perspectives.
Not any particular personality type.
Not that I can identify. I guess it simply has to be people who are open to and willing to try and work at practice.
And in New Orleans, there are presently such groups or places where someone could sign up to learn meditation.
There are.
And is that an expensive sort of thing to do, or reasonably priced?
It's usually reasonably priced. I'm sure you can find expensive and a spectrum of options.
All right. Well, would you recommend meditation to everybody, or only those people who have too much stress?
That's an interesting question. Well, I guess I wanted to, as I said before, talk a little bit about some of the benefits of meditation.
We'll do that.
And transcendental meditation, the one that you brought up, has been studied a fair amount, and also insight meditation from the Buddhist tradition.
Well, we'll say that again. What kind?
Insight meditation.
Okay, all right.
Those two have been studied quite a bit by people like Dr. Benson at Harvard Medical School and John Kabat-Zinn at the UMass Medical Center. And it's amazing. There are new studies coming out every week, it seems. If you pay attention to the internet, you'll see new studies coming out. So here are some of the areas that people have identified either through their personal experience or through scientific measure. So stress reduction that's a central motivator for many people. They want to reduce their stress levels because stress is simply no fun, right? To being stressed. And then additionally, stress induces a lot of, or exacerbates a lot of physical health problems.
Yes. Now, ordinarily, wouldn't those people be referred to a psychiatrist or psychologist as opposed to a meditation guru?
Well, I see them as autonomous human beings, and they can do what they like. If you're feeling stressed, you could go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, or you could sign up for a meditation class.
What does the medical profession in general, how do they feel about meditation? Do you know?
My sense is that increasingly they think it's a great thing. And
if an MD has a patient who is having some severe stress, would a doctor, are doctors now referring them to meditation as opposed to sending them to a psychiatrist?
I think it would depend on the overall diagnosis, what's going on with the person. If it's extremely severe stress and the person seems to be out of control, then they might send them to a psychiatrist.
Well, now I'm going to get personal. How often do you meditate?
I meditate some every day. It's something that I work into my daily schedule and enjoy.
I see. And so you have been relieved of stresses.
I can't say that I've completely eliminated all stress from my life, but I feel the benefits daily. I feel I get into situations where my knee-jerk reaction would be to get very tense or stressed, and I might notice that stress starting to creep in because I've developed my mindfulness, and I've developed the capacity to let some portion of that go, sometimes all of it. So,
did my inviting you to appear on this TV show cause you any stressful feelings?
No, I was happy to come. So.
Well, very good. Well, now, as I say, I have this list of 108 different meditation techniques. You want to talk about some of those?
I would. And I'm going to continue with my list of benefits, and then I'll go to some of the forms of meditation.
Okay, well, we have a little bit of time left on this show.
Okay.
Go ahead.
How much time do we have?
Well, at least more than 5 minutes, so go ahead.
Okay. So there's the stress reduction piece. Some forms of meditation are designed not just to reduce stress, but to increase a sense of well-being, happiness, compassion, loving kindness, empathy, these sorts of capacities and feelings and attitudes. There are many physical health benefits. Many people find that when they reduce stress and develop these attitudes, that their relationships improve because they have more, rather than just having a knee-jerk reaction to when there's some kind of conflict, there's a little more empathy, compassion, spaciousness, ability to be present with others. Many people who do some form of performance, whether it's performing as a musician or an actor or in sports, where there can be a lot of stress,
Yes.
a lot of pressure to perform perfectly, find meditation very useful to reduce the stress, and so their performance gets better. And then, of course, there are many spiritual traditions, even ones that don't have sort of these religious beliefs that your group would
not find unacceptable.
Find unacceptable. But there are dimensions of these traditions that just have to do with awareness, something that's that we could experience in a deeper way, that doesn't require any grand metaphysical system or theology to explain. These are some of the benefits of meditation, and then there are many different forms of meditation which create the building blocks to develop those capacities which lead to those benefits.
When you meet a new person and have some conversation with them, are you able to detect whether they may or may not do meditation? I mean, is it something that you, with your experience, may hear in what they say or how they act? Can
I somehow sense whether or not they're meditators?
Sense whether, yes.
Sometimes, not always, but sometimes.
I see. Well, I think we have, maybe a minute left, so tell the folks anything you want them to know. In fact, we don't have even that time. Thank you so much, Hans, for being here. I hope this has been illuminating for you folks like me who didn't know anything about meditation, and come back again.